Ever feel exhausted by people who don't respect you? They interrupt, throw sly digs, or act like your time and feelings don't matter. Society says smile and take it, but what if today you say no more? In this video, I'm breaking down 5 raw, powerful, maybe even bold, ways to handle disrespect without losing your cool or your dignity. From a silent stare that leaves them rattled to the art of walking away without looking back, you'll get every tool to draw your line in the sand. Inspired by Stoic philosophy, this isn't just tips, it's a way of life. Stick around, because by the end, you'll know how to demand respect, starting with yourself. Ready to flip the script on those who test you? Let's dive in. You deserve this. Embrace the silent stare, a stoic weapon against disrespect. Let's get real for a moment. Some people seem to thrive on pushing your buttons. They interrupt you mid-sentence, toss out passive-aggressive jabs, or act as if your time and feelings are irrelevant. Society often expects us to grin and bear it, to let the disrespect slide with a polite nod. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of reacting, you chose a response so subtle yet so powerful that it flips the entire situation on its head? Enter the silent stare, a technique that's equal parts savage and serene, rooted in Stoic principles of self-control and inner strength. This isn't about petty retaliation. It's about reclaiming your dignity without uttering a single word. Picture this. Someone's being blatantly rude. Maybe they've cut you off for the 3rd time in a conversation, or they've smirked while dismissing your ideas. Your instinct might be to snap back, to defend yourself, or even to shrink away. But here's where the silent stare comes in. You stop, you turn to them, and you just look. No words, no frown, no flustered gestures, just a calm, steady gaze that holds their eyes for a few deliberate seconds. It's not aggressive, but it's far from passive. It's a calculated stillness that says, I see you, but I'm not playing your game. And trust me, it works wonders. Why is this so effective? People who disrespect others are usually fishing for a reaction. They want you to stumble over your words, get visibly upset, or fire back. Anything that feeds their need for control or drags you into their chaos. It's a power play, a way to make you question yourself or feel small. But when you meet their jab with silence and an unflinching stare, you deny them that payoff. Suddenly, they're the ones squirming. The absence of your reaction creates a vacuum, and they're left alone with their own behavior, unsure of what to do next. It's unsettling for them, but for you, it's empowering. You've just turned their weapon into your shield. Let me paint a picture from my own life. I was in a group meeting once, dealing with a guy who seemed determined to steamroll over me. Every time I spoke, he'd interrupt with some loud, self-important comment, acting like the room belonged to him. At first, I tried the polite route, waiting my turn, interjecting gently, but he didn't care. So I switched tactics. The next time he cut me off, I stopped talking, leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, and locked eyes with him. No smile, no scowl, just a steady, unblinking stare for about 5 seconds. The room went quiet. You could feel the tension shift. He faltered, his words tripping over themselves, and suddenly he couldn't meet my gaze. The best part? Everyone else noticed too, and he didn't interrupt me again that day. That silent stare didn't just shut him down in the moment. It shifted how he treated me moving forward. He'd learned I wasn't someone he could bulldoze. This isn't just a petty trick, it's a Stoic practice in action. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, taught that we can't control others' actions, but we can control our responses. When you embrace the silent stare, you're embodying that wisdom. You're refusing to let someone else's disrespect dictate your emotions. It's a reminder, to them and to yourself, that you don't owe anyone your anger or your energy. You're not dancing to their tune or scrambling to prove your worth. Instead, you're standing firm in your own space, unshaken and unbothered. It's defiance wrapped in calm, a way to say no without raising your voice. I'll admit, it takes practice. Early on, I'd feel awkward holding that gaze. My instinct was to laugh it off or explain myself when someone crossed a line. But the more I used the silent stare, the more I realized its strength. It's not about being rude or petty, it's about accountability. People who disrespect others often get away with it because no one calls them out. Words can be ignored or twisted, but a steady, silent look? That's harder to brush off. It's like holding up a mirror. They're forced to see themselves, and most don't like the reflection. Try it next time someone pushes your boundaries. Don't argue. Don't retreat. Just look at them, calm and composed. Let the silence do the talking. You'll be amazed at how it shifts the dynamic. They might fidget, backtrack, or even apologize, but more importantly, you'll feel a quiet surge of confidence. The silent stare says, I respect myself too much to engage in your nonsense. And in a world full of noise, that kind of stillness is louder than any comeback. Embrace silence as your answer, the stoic art of saying nothing. Let's cut through the noise. Some people love to drag you into their mess. They sling disrespectful comments, subtle digs, or outright provocations, hoping you'll bite. Maybe they're looking for a fight, a justification for their behavior, or just a way to feel superior by knocking you off balance. The world expects you to respond, to defend, explain, or at least acknowledge their jab. But what if you didn't? What if your most powerful move was to do nothing at all? Embracing silence as your answer isn't weakness. It's a bold, deliberate choice, steeped in stoic wisdom, that strips disrespect of its power and hands you the reins. Imagine this. Someone's throwing shade your way. Maybe it's a snarky remark about your work, a backhanded joke meant to sting, or a passive-aggressive question designed to rile you up. Your gut says to clap back or smooth things over with a nervous laugh. But instead, you pause. You look at them, maybe raise an eyebrow, and let the silence stretch out. No words, no reaction, just a void where their bait hangs unanswered. It feels counterintuitive, right? Silence can seem passive, like you're letting them win. But here's the truth. It's anything but. It's a calculated refusal to play their game, and it's deafening in its strength. Why does this work so well? Disrespect thrives on attention. The people who dish it out, whether they're bullies, chronic critics, or just insecure souls, need your response to keep the cycle going. They want you to get defensive, snap back, or show some crack in your armor. It's fuel for their fire. But when you don't engage, when you let their words dangle in the air without a reply, you starve that fire. The silence forces them to sit with what they've said, alone and exposed. They're expecting a tug of war, but you've dropped the rope. Suddenly, they're the ones off balance, not you. It's a power shift they can't argue with because you've given them nothing to grip onto. I've seen this play out firsthand. There was this person in my life who couldn't resist needling me. Little digs disguised as humor, the kind that hit harder the more you think about them. One day, they made a cutting remark about something I'd poured my heart into. Normally, I'd have jumped in, explained myself, maybe fired back a quip to even the score. But this time, I tried something different. I looked at them, gave a slight nod, and said nothing. The air got thick. They waited for me to bite, but I didn't. After a beat, they mumbled something awkward and changed the subject. That was the last time they tried that stunt with me. The silence didn't just shut it down, it rewrote the rules. They realized there was no power to gain if I wouldn't play. This is stoicism in action. Think of Seneca's words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. When you choose silence, you're exercising that power. You're saying, your disrespect doesn't get to dictate my peace. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about deciding who's worth your energy. Too often, we feel pressured to respond, to prove ourselves to people who don't even care. But silence flips that script. It's a quiet rebellion, a way to stand your ground without lifting a finger. You're not ignoring them out of fear, you're dismissing them out of strength. It's not easy at first. I used to think staying quiet made me look weak, like I was dodging the fight. I'd replay those moments later, kicking myself for not saying something clever. But then I noticed a pattern. Every time I argued back, I'd end up drained, tangled in their nonsense. When I held my tongue, though, I felt lighter, stronger, like I'd reclaimed a piece of myself. Silence became my filter. It kept the negativity out and my peace intact. Over time, I stopped caring about winning those exchanges and started valuing my own calm instead. Here's the deeper kick. Silence isn't just about them. It's about you. It's a declaration that your worth doesn't hinge on their approval. You're not here to entertain their disrespect or audition for their respect. By not responding, you're choosing yourself, your time, your energy, your dignity. It's liberating. The less you say, the more you realize how little their words matter. And the best part? It drives them nuts. They'll squirm, backpedal, or just give up when they see their hooks aren't catching. Next time someone crosses that line, try it. Take a breath, look them in the eye, and let the silence speak. Watch them unravel while you stand steady. It's not just a tactic, it's a mindset. Embrace silence as your answer, and you'll find it's the loudest way to say, "I'm done with your noise." Stop explaining your choices, a stoic stand for self-ownership. Let's face it, people love to poke at your life. You make a decision, big or small, and suddenly it's open season. Why do you do that? Why didn't you pick the safer option? What's your plan now? It's as if your choices are a public forum, and everyone's entitled to a vote. We've all been there, caught in that trap of justifying ourselves, spilling out reasons to appease the curious, the skeptical, or the downright judgmental. But here's a hard truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live. Stopping the habit of over-explaining isn't just liberating. It's a stoic flex, a way to reclaim your autonomy and tell the world your life isn't up for debate. Think about the last time you made a move that raised eyebrows. Maybe you turned down a stable job for something riskier but truer to you, or skipped a social event everyone else deemed mandatory. The questions come fast, sometimes innocent, often loaded. Why would you do that? They ask, brows furrowed, as if your decision needs their stamp of approval. Your instinct might be to launch into a defense, lay out your logic, prove you've thought it through. But pause and ask, why? Why do you feel compelled to convince them? The reality is, most people aren't asking to understand. They're probing to judge, to poke holes, or to soothe their own discomfort with your independence. You don't have to play along. This is where Stoicism steps in. Epictetus said, "What need is there to show off or to seek approval from others?" When you stop explaining your choices, you're living that principle. You're saying your decisions don't need a jury. They're valid because you made them. It's not arrogance, it's ownership. People question you because your path challenges their worldview. Maybe it's a risk they'd never take, a leap that makes their comfort zone feel small. That's their issue, not yours. By refusing to justify yourself, you're not just dodging their scrutiny, you're breaking free from the need to fit into their expectations. I've been there. A while back, I left a cushy job for something less predictable but more aligned with what I wanted out of life. The second people heard, it was like I'd lit a flare. Everyone had an opinion. Why would you give up security? How are you going to make it work? At first, I'd dive in, explain my passion, my plan, my reasoning, hoping they'd get it. But no matter how much I said, it was never enough. They'd nod, then counter with more doubts, leaving me second-guessing myself. Then one day, I tried something new. Someone asked, "Why'd you leave that gig?" I smiled and said, "Because I wanted to." That was it. No breakdown, no defense. The silence that followed was golden. They didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't care. That moment felt like shedding a weight I'd carried too long. Here's why this shift matters. Explaining yourself hands over power. Every time you justify your choices, you're inviting others to weigh in, to approve or disapprove. It's exhausting, and worse, it chips away at your confidence. But when you stop, you take that power back. You're not rude or dismissive. You're just done auditioning for their validation. It's a quiet revolution. You start living for you, not for the gallery of onlookers. And the beauty? Most people back off when they realize you're not feeding their curiosity. They might push once or twice, but a calm, "That's what I chose," shuts it down. They can't argue with a wall that doesn't budge. It's not always easy, I'll admit. I used to think not explaining made me seem flaky or defensive, like I had something to hide. I'd ramble on, trying to win people over, only to feel drained and less sure of myself. But over time, I saw the pattern. The more I justified, the more I doubted. So I made a rule: answer briefly, if at all, and let it lie. Why'd I move across the country? Felt right. Why'd I skip that party? Didn't want to go. Short, simple, done. Life got lighter. I stopped wasting energy on people who didn't need to understand and started pouring it into what I'd chosen. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about trusting yourself. You don't need a chorus of yes votes to know your path is right for you. The Stoics knew this. Your worth, your choices, they're yours to own, not to prove. Next time someone questions you, resist the urge to spill. Try a shrug, a smile, and a "because I decided to." Watch how it feels, stronger, freer, like you're standing taller in your own skin. Stop explaining, and you'll realize your choices don't need anyone's seal. They're enough because they're yours. Keep your distance, a stoic boundary for self-respect. Let's be honest, some people don't deserve a front row seat in your life. They cross your boundaries, belittle your efforts, or drip negativity like a slow leak, draining you with every interaction. Society tells us to stick it out, forgive, be loyal, keep them close because they're family, friends, or just familiar. But here's a hard-earned truth. Not everyone belongs in your orbit. Keeping your distance from those who consistently disrespect you isn't cold or dramatic. It's a stoic act of self-preservation, a deliberate choice to protect your peace and honor your worth. Imagine your life as a sacred space, a garden you tend with care. Now picture someone trampling through it, scattering snide remarks, criticizing your every move, or radiating vibes that leave you tense and small. Why would you let them stay? Keeping your distance doesn't mean you hate them or wish them ill. It's about recognizing that their presence costs you more than it gives. It's not a loud confrontation or a grand exit. It's a quiet step back, a subtle shift to limit their access. This isn't punishment. It's a gift to yourself, a way to reclaim the energy they've been siphoning off. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, remind us we can't control others' actions, only our own responses. When someone disrespects you repeatedly, you can't force them to change, but you can choose who gets your time. Distance is that choice. It's not about running away. It's about standing firm in your own value. Think about it. When you keep toxic people close, it's like handing them a free pass to your mental and emotional well-being. You end up anxious, second-guessing yourself, or just plain worn out. Stepping back clears that fog. It's a boundary that says, I respect myself too much to let you keep doing this. I learned this the hard way. I had a friend who couldn't resist jabbing at me, my job, my relationships, even my taste in books. At first, I brushed it off, telling myself, that's just how they are. I'd laugh, deflect, keep the peace. But those little cuts added up. I'd leave our hangouts feeling heavier, like I'd been subtly dismantled. One day, I decided enough was enough. I didn't call them out or cut them off with fanfare. I just dialed back. Weekly meetups became monthly, then rare. I didn't explain or justify, I just faded out. And you know what? The relief was instant. Distance gave me clarity. I'd been tolerating a dynamic that chipped away at me, and I didn't have to. This isn't easy to swallow. People will guilt trip you, but they're family. You've known them forever, as if history obligates you to endure. Society loves the narrative of endless forgiveness, but at what cost? Your peace isn't a bargaining chip. Keeping your distance doesn't make you selfish. It's necessary. You're not here to be anyone's punching bag or ego boost. And here's the kicker. Stepping back often reveals what you couldn't see up close. Free from their influence, you realize how much lighter you feel, how much space opens up for people who actually lift you up. There's a deeper layer here. Distance isn't just about them. It's a statement to yourself. It's you saying, I'm my own priority. You don't owe anyone constant access to your mind, your time, your spirit. The Stoics saw self-respect as a cornerstone of a good life. When you let disrespectful people linger, you're handing them a chisel to carve at that foundation. Pulling away rebuilds it. It's not about spite, it's about survival. You're pruning the dead weight to let the good grow. Relationships that respect you, moments that energize you, a life that reflects your worth. I used to feel guilty about this. I'd worry they'd think I didn't care, or that I was overreacting to small slights. But over time, I saw the truth. Keeping my distance wasn't just about escaping negativity. It was about creating room for growth. The less I tangled with those who dragged me down, the more I thrived. My energy came back, my focus sharpened, and I gravitated toward people who match my vibe. It's not abandonment, it's alignment. Here's the practical side. You don't need a showdown. Fade out quietly. Skip the frequent calls, dodge the invites. Let the connection thin out naturally. If they ask, a simple, I've been busy works. Most won't push, they'll feel the shift and adjust. And if they don't, that's on them. Your job isn't to fix them, it's to guard yourself. So take stock. Who in your life disrespects you, drains you, makes you feel less? Ask, do they deserve this much of me? Then act. Step back, breathe, and watch how it feels to choose yourself. Keeping your distance isn't a loss. It's a win for your peace, a stoic reminder that you're worth protecting. Hold your head high, a stoic anthem of unshakable worth. Some people live to knock you down a peg. They toss out snarky comments, smirk at your efforts, or subtly chip away at your confidence, banking on you shrinking under their weight. The world might expect you to bow your head, to dodge the sting with a laugh or a retreat. But what if you didn't? What if, instead, you stood tall, shoulders back, chin up, and let their disrespect bounce off you like rain on stone? Holding your head high isn't just posture. It's a stoic declaration of self-worth, a quiet refusal to let anyone dim your light. Picture this. Someone's taking a swing at you. Maybe a cutting remark about your work, a jab disguised as a joke, or a dismissive glance that says you don't measure up. Your first impulse might be to slump, to lower your eyes, to make yourself small so their words don't hit as hard. But here's where you flip the script. You straighten up, meet their gaze, and carry on as if their nonsense never landed. It's not about arrogance or defiance. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to let their noise redefine you. That simple act, that unwavering stance, throws them off more than any comeback ever could. Why does this hit so hard? People who disrespect you feed off your reaction. They want you to flinch, to doubt yourself, to give them the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. It's a cheap power grab, diminish you to prop themselves up. But when you hold your head high, you break that cycle. You're saying, I see your game, and it doesn't touch me. Confidence unnerves them. They're counting on your insecurity, your hesitation, and when you stand tall instead, it's like you've pulled the rug out from under their feet. They don't know what to do with someone who won't bend. I've lived this. There was this person who loved tossing little barbs my way, always with a grin, like it was all in good fun. Oh, you're still chasing that dream, they'd say, or nice try. But it used to get under my skin. I'd slouch, mumble something to deflect, and walk away feeling smaller. Then one day, I'd had enough. They lobbed another quip, and instead of shrinking, I pulled my shoulders back, looked them dead in the eye, and smiled. Not a word, just a calm, steady presence. I kept going about my business like they hadn't spoken. You could see the flicker in their smirk. They didn't expect that. Over time, the jabs faded. They couldn't rattle me anymore, and that shift wasn't about them. It was about me owning my space. This is stoicism at its core. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Holding your head high embodies that. You can't stop people from being rude, but you can decide they don't get to shake you. It's not about pretending their words don't sting. It's about choosing to rise above them. You're not proving anything to them. You're proving it to yourself. That upright stance becomes a shield, a reminder that your worth isn't up for grabs. It's yours, inherent, untouchable, no matter what they throw your way. There's a radical edge to this. People who thrive on disrespect hate seeing you unshaken. Your confidence messes with their script. They want you fragile, apologetic, easy to control. When you refuse to play that role, it's almost offensive to them. Society doesn't always know what to do with someone who won't crumble under scrutiny, and that can make you a target. But here's the beauty. Holding your head high isn't for them. It's for you. It's a daily practice of self-respect, a way to walk through life as if you already know you're enough. Because you are. It didn't come naturally to me. I used to shrink when criticized, drop my gaze, hunch my shoulders, anything to avoid the spotlight. It felt safer to disappear. But I noticed something. Every time I caved, I felt weaker. So I started experimenting. Next time someone took a swipe, I'd take a breath, stand tall, and let it roll off. The first time felt awkward, but then came the rush, a quiet strength I hadn't tapped before. The more I did it, the less their words stuck. I wasn't just standing straighter, I was thinking straighter. Their opinions stopped matching because I'd claimed my own. This isn't just physical, it's mental posture. Walk into every room like you belong. Let the snide remarks slide past you. They're not about you. They're about the insecurities of the one throwing them. Next time disrespect comes knocking, don't duck. Breathe deep, lift your head, and look it in the eye. Feel that power, the peace of knowing their noise can't touch your core. Holding your head high says, I know my value, and you don't get to rewrite it. It's your stoic crown. Wear it, own it, and let the rest fall away. Core message: own your worth, set your standard. Life's too short to waste on people who don't respect you. That's the heart of it. Every jab, every boundary crossed, every moment you let slide is a choice you don't have to make. You don't need permission to stand tall, to guard your peace, or to live on your terms. People will test you, question your choices, push your limits, try to drag you down to their level. It's just noise in a noisy world. But here's the stoic truth: you decide what gets through. You set the bar for how you're treated, and it all starts with one thing: self-respect. This isn't about bending over backwards to please those who can't see your value. It's about owning your power. Silence the drama with a steady stare. Let their words hang unanswered. Stop justifying your path. Step back from the toxic, and hold your head high through it all. Each move is a brick in the wall of your dignity. The beauty? The more you honor yourself, the more you draw in people who lift you up, those who see your worth without you having to prove it. Disrespect fades when you stop feeding it, and that shift begins with you. Think of Marcus Aurelius. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Don't waste energy on those who don't get it. They're not your burden. Focus on what you control: your response, your space, your standards. Life's a mirror. Reflect strength, and strength finds you. You're not here to shrink or apologize for being you. You're here to thrive, unapologetically, and let the rest fall into place. If this resonates, hit that thumbs up. It tells me you're in on this journey. Better yet, subscribe. I'm dropping more on owning your life and building unshakable confidence every week. Share this with someone who needs it. Maybe a friend stuck tolerating disrespect or doubting their worth. Let's spark a ripple of people standing tall together. Drop a comment too. Tell me your story of setting boundaries or shutting down the noise. I'm here for it. Respect starts with you. So take it, live it, and watch your world change.